Good evening. Welcome to this episode. And in this episode, in this edition, we will be looking at how to run Cypress automation tests on GitHub Actions. Obviously, again, I think we got a project already that we can work with. But anyway, so since we're working with GitHub Actions, let us just dive in and just go and log in and create a GitHub repository. So let's begin. So I'm going to put this through here. This is like a branch I created for ourselves for us to obviously work with. And in this place, it's like Canada 2024. You can just any GitHub account really just create a GitHub repository. So let's set up a GitHub repository here. So let's call this like I like different like names. So let's call this Orbit just for the sake of it, really. Orbit repo, and I will just fill up the rest. So this is going to be private anyway, or we can make it public just if you want to download that. Read me all the good things, really. So this is going to be like a node project because it is a Cypress project. If you want to like any license, please go ahead and add. So here like MIT anyway. Well, I don't think you really need it. Just create this. So this is created, and now that it's created, just clone this repository down. So we're going to go over here, and I'm going to, let's see what's in here already. There you go. So we got some projects in there. So I just clone this repository. I am going to paste this here, and this is going to be cloned. So now that it's cloned, I think what we called it was Orbit. So we just do Orbit, get in just any name really. So this is fresh directory. There's nothing so much in here. The only thing we got is the like git ignore thing here, isn't it? And I think what I really like to, this is template one. So, but what I really like to add is usually this npm module. So for me, I just like to say anywhere it is really, just to say anywhere really, and then just please add it on. So that's me there. I think the next thing I want to do is to probably just bring a Cypress project in here. We're not going to continue to create project every single time. So I would just go and see if I can find any Cypress projects. It doesn't have to be any specific thing, but just find a simple Cypress project. So here, I think I found one already, so I just copied it over. So here it is. And on this project here, as you can see, we go very simple. So this is just this old project that we created, and it's got like Cypress run and Cypress open for debug. And then this one is Cypress config.tx. It's Cypress TypeScript project. And on this one, okay, quickly. So let's just run through this project here. It's just a simple project, kind of like really hello world project, really, if you want to put it that way. So what does it do really? What this does is basic. You can see just go to homepage. And then the home page is actually just this TechPanda website. What it does is if it goes there, we just check that this thing appears, which is this is demo sites. If you want to see that really, just go to, let's open up this browser and see what that is. So just this is TechPanda. It's not typing. Okay, yeah, live TechPanda, that one. So just press and enter. It's just gonna come here and just validate that this is there. Just, you know, any simple website really. That's all I'm doing. So that's what this TypeScript JavaScript TypeScript Cypress project is doing. So if you go here, just these are just the only two things here. Nothing much. There's nothing on the setup. I've just adjusted the screen resolutions. And as you know, when you run this on any pipeline, it just runs by default on headless mode. So, but you can also specify that. You can just say headless as well, but obviously by default it does that. So I'm not going to say that. So I'm just using default. So I'm going to run this. So, but the key thing here now is that within this project, within this repository now, if you want to create a GitHub Actions, which is why we're here today, you've got to be able to like create two subdirectories within each other. So the first one is you create something called as, so if I right click and go here. Actually, you can do this from command line as well if you're a command line person, so quit like me. So what I will do is I'll just make directory, and then just say -p here, and then the first directory is called .github, and then the second directory here that I'm going to create is this. Actually, it's actually here. My workflow is going to be workflows, and then within the workflow you can just add anything. So for today we're just doing CI, so I'll just do ci.yaml. That's what we want to do. So I'll just run this. This will create a directory and subdirectory, and then add this empty file here. That's it, really. Okay, so once it has added that, you just need to be able to go and do your GitLab thing. So the first thing you do here on this workflow is you do name. Just give this on this YAML, give this workflow a name. In this case here, I can call this I can just call it whatever I like. So what's the name of our project? We called it the repository, we called it Orbit. So you can just do that. You can just say Orbit. Here, let's say Orbit pipeline, whatever. Just give it like a cool name here, really. So let's see why this is. So it says it's missing required. Yeah, we're going to come to these two now. So that's the first thing. The second thing we need to do is the on thing. So the on, it's where you describe what you want this pipeline to do. An example is on push, which is when you push this pipeline up, what do you want it to do? If you push it to up to the repository, the origin repository, do you want it to begin to build the job? And if you want it to build, what branches are you going to do that? So the first one here, I would say branches, and in this branches here, I want to actually list out the branches that I want. So probably like main. And the second one, I mean, you can go crazy with this, really. If there are other branches you're targeting, like let's say something like develop, just put that. So these are again, the next thing you want to think about is if you create a pull request, you want to do something as well. Please put that here as well. So this is pull request. So let's pull underscore request, but it's not must. But these are typical things that people have on a pipeline. Same again, branches. Within the branches, you're going to have main. You can also build these two branches. So, or maybe you can take this out and say, whenever people create pull requests from main, please do that. But if they create pull requests from any other branches, don't do that. But for the sake of argument, I can just leave it here as well. So you can carry on and on. There are other things like when you create a release and things like that, you can do that. But let's keep this simple for now. So put the third one. The third one here that is complaining about is the job. So if you have a job, what do you do? Well, when you have a job, you're going to have build. And if you have build, you say run on. Now you can see the errors are disappeared. Don't worry about the errors for now. So now that I've saved, this thing has reformatted it. It doesn't matter anywhere at the minute. But these are just the basic things you can have on a pipeline. These three: name, on, and then jobs. The job is describing the job you're going to have. So let's continue now. So when you say run on, this is like an Ubuntu OS will be used as like a base OS for running this job. Well, when you use Ubuntu to do that, you would have to be able to install things on top of it. Like if you're running a Cypress project with TypeScript and things, you've got to be able to go and install those things, isn't it? So anyway, let's go for default here. So default. So what are those things that we want to have? The first one would be under this default is we want to run. This is not mandatory, but if you want, you can be pedantic and say, I really want you to run in a shell environment. So just to make sure that the command line is going to use will be, let's say bash. This option, you can just ignore that. The second option is where you then begin to define your steps. So the first step we want to have would be obviously the first thing is usually to check out the code from the origin repository. The origin is that this thing that we just created here, isn't it? This place, anything on this remote is called origin. So this is the first thing we want to look at it here is to check out that. So let's check out the code. So we check out code from the repository right here. So what do we do within that? They already have template that they create, and it's called we use the key tag we use for that is called uses. Within these uses, we will use the things like a custom things or like a task that GitLab guys themselves already created for us to do this checkout. The latest version is version 4. There's version 1, 2, 3, 4 for this checkout. Is called action checkout. That's what it does. So it adds v4. So this, whatever name you give it here is fine, but it will use whatever it is you have put here to like really do the job. So again, the same way, you go to the below again and you start. What is the, after you check out the code, what do you want to do? Maybe at this point in time we want to set up Node.js, isn't it? So to say name again here, let's set up Node.js. So here we'll say set up Node.js or whatever, however you want to add the type that. So Node.js here. Okay, so the second thing, we're going to obviously use the action as well. Node.js has its own thing that it uses to set up things. The latest version for Node.js as well is v4, and it says it is called setup hyphen node. That's what it's called. But there are other options it takes, which obviously in this pipeline is there's a lot that maybe we don't want to get into now, but here one of the options here is the node version. This node version, you can just use it to pick up the version of the node you want it to install, or you can say at least it should install maybe something like node 20. At least node 14 is quite old, 16 is quite old. You can leave it here as an integer here, and it's fine with it. Right, so what's this would then put, so it will just put Ubuntu OS. It would set up the bash. On the bash terminal, it would install, it would check out the code, then it will just install node 20 on that machine. So then the next thing then would be, so we go name again. On this name, we want to run the Cypress. So here it is. So we say let's run Cypress automation test, whatever, just call any name here is fine. Automation test. Right, so this automation is not properly spelled. So yeah, so this is what we want to do here. So the next thing here is to begin to set the uses. Okay, so let's come back here now. So then the let us now run the test, because we've set up everything we need. So here for the Cypress one is we say uses here again. So the uses for this one will be Cypress one. So the Cypress latest version of Cypress comes from, I mean, you can go and Google these things up. This is Cypress-IO at GitHub Action at v6. v6 is the latest one. You can just use that. So that will ensure that Cypress is there. This one also uses with option. The first option you can put here, you can say build through, you make sure it's built. It takes browser. And then the other one, you can put a spec where you want it to go. But what I want to make sure is I want to put install, just to make sure that it actually indeed do the install. So in that case, I really don't want this build. I just want to do install. I've done the browser, but before that, really, I think the first one, it doesn't matter really the what comes first. But what I want to make sure is that I am specifying the working directory where it will be. And the reason, which is really the most important one, really, but the reason for specifying this working directory is because my project is oftentimes people will keep their test, all this test content outside this like a root directory. But for my test is within, if I like to keep things tidy, so you can see I have a directory here called rudimentary 10. So here I'll just put it here. So that's where I wanted to like point the things to. So I'll just do that, which is where my tests are. You can see my npm package is there. So whatever it needs to do, it needs to like seed into that. So this GitHub thing really have a way for you to do that. So it gives you this thing called working directory. So this is where it will switch, and it will be looking into this to do whatever it needs to do. So the first thing, as we said, is we said install, and then the browser would be Chrome. I mean, you can use whatever. That this action has like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and all that. I mean, you can do parallel or like sequential, doesn't matter. But the key thing is we being able to like go here and be able to like run npm sci run. So let's go and do that. So what's the command here? You just put a command. The command here is to do npm run run sci run, isn't it? So this would do. Now you can see that this is like it's been yelling. I didn't really want to pay attention to it, but what is important here is that this default would be in the same line with these steps. So let's select all of it, and I'll press Shift Tab to go back one step. There you go. So that, but unfortunately it took the rest of the things out as well. Let's select this one, and I will tab. Just press tab on my keyboard. This will tab, but I think it tabbed it too much. Let me do a save and see if it will auto format this for me. It doesn't. So I think what I will do now, because it doesn't do that, is to see, but at least this is on the same line with default and run on as well. So what is the problem here? The problem here is because these ones are really shifted. So that is fixed. I think this should do really. So run with here. So this is tab. Yeah, there you go. So everything else I think is fine. As we said, each of these, when you hover on them, it tells you more things you can do. But this is a basic pipeline, GitHub Action pipeline that, and you can see that pretty much of the things like scriptings and things are already done for you here. And this would get us to just build a basic job. And on a pipeline, a branch here is the branch main. So let's go and just check in this code and have a look. So I'm just going to do git act and add all this, git status, and then git commit. Actually, let's review what we added. So these are just the tests, one simple test. So it'd be really imperative for us to really run this test locally before we start checking it in. Okay, so that's a very good, like practice. So let's run this test here. I'll just do npm run, and I'll say sci. I won't run debug. Let's just run it. So we'll say sci run. Actually, so let's get onto the right repository here. And then once you're onto the right repository, we would just make sure that npm is install packages are there. Just install. Yeah, it's there. So the next thing is to do npm run, and I will say sci run, press and enter. This should run just that one single test. And there you go. So the test pass, or the test passes. So that's that. So now that we're happy that the test is good, let's now go. This is the screenshot that was captured at the first video. I don't want to put that. Let's just go and commit this. I'll just commit this, and I'll just do git push origin main. So let's push it up and then go to the directory and have a look and see how if it is running. Okay, so I just pull this this browser up. You can see here that this is now running. You can also see it if you go to actions. Here is the initial thing, and this is building. So as it's building, you can see it takes a few minutes to be ready, but you can click on it just to see that things are running. So here, it just done a setup. It is done a git checkout. Here is the checkout. Here is the node setup. You will just ensure that node, and you can see it's node 20.18. Whatever you can, you can be specific with versions of the node as well, like 20 point something point. You can just specify that, but I've just saved version 20, so you put the LTS on 20, and that's what I'm using. Set up other environments if you want to specify. This is run Cypress automation test. Cypress automation test is the one we specified. Hooray! As you can see here, everything is green, and this is it. So this is basically how you run things. And as I said, it runs the test by default in it does it on headless mode. If you want, you can specify where really you want to run the test, and when it finishes, you just tear down things, and then this is the last thing. It will just kill them off. If you go back here, you can see it will tell you the name of the pipeline. This is the initial setup, but let's go and see what's the name of the pipeline. This is the workflow that actually got triggered. Let's go into this audit again. We'll click on the actual report. You can see that this is success. It tells you that this thing passed, and which is really good, really, to be honest. Let's have a look, just quick look again. Go in here, open this up now. Here is the ci.yaml, and I'll open it up one more time. If I open it up one more time, I should see, yeah, this is it, audit pipeline. That's what we called it here. We called it audit pipeline. So that's really very simple, basic GitLab pipeline for running Cypress. Thank you.